The Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall is a game I started years back but never finished until now. Not only does it fix bugs and makes the game a little prettier, but it modernizes the controls so I don't have to swing my mouse to attack and I can move my character without using the corners of the screen. Instead, I use WASD to move and I click with the attack button. This alone makes the game so much more playable. Also, the screen size is bigger and no more big UI in the front. It also gives you a mod loader, but I didn't use it as I was attempting to mostly do a vanilla experience. Despite the game being bigger than Arena, it is shrunk down to just 2 lands, Hammerfell and High Rock. Even still, the game is massive, one of the biggest games ever. With such a large game, fast travel is a necessity. The maps are huge. Every dot is a place you can go, and lots of these dots have lots of places you can enter inside them too. And while that does seem like a lot, once again, it's not the most handcrafted of places. And often they're very samey, or in some cases, like with dungeons, they can be exactly the same. People are still less like people and more like encyclopedias, but now they do have some part of humanity added to them. And that part would be racism. As a dark elf, everyone hates me and won't tell me nothing, and some people won't even talk to me. This is kind of because dark elves are from Morrowind, and where I'm at, I'm mainly going to be seeing Bretons, orcs, and red guards. Now, by gaining favor with kingdoms, people will treat me better, but still, it always takes you a few tries before you can find anyone who will give you information. Sometimes they won't even talk to you. Climbing is a thing, which isn't in any other Elder Scrolls game, and maybe it's because my skill in climbing was low, but it kind of fucking sucks. Levitate is not only better, but also the game isn't gonna tell ya, but I will. It's pretty much required for some dungeons. Level ups no longer use XP. This is the first game where you level up by using that thing. So if you want to get good with swords, you gotta keep practicing with swords. If you want to get good with magic, you gotta keep practicing with magic, etc. I always found this really unique, and while I do prefer the XP system, this is also fun as well. I don't hate this at all. Armor rating is how it should be, with the higher number being the better one. Shops are now randomized, meaning sometimes they will have one item, sometimes they will have a different item. So it is, especially at lower levels, good to check into shops. You also can't get any potions unless you join a temple and do temple quests. But while potions are still very useful, they aren't as much of a necessity as they were in Arena. Money has a weight to it in this game, and I think it's the only game where money has a weight to it, meaning you can't just carry it everywhere, so you either need a horse or a cart. Even more importantly, a bank. But keep in mind, a bank in Daggerfall isn't going to work in Wayrest or Sentinel. If you're in Wayrest, you need to use the Wayrest bank. If you're in Sentinel, you need to use the Sentinel bank. And if you're in Daggerfall, you need to use the Daggerfall bank. You can have money in all of them, or you could hoard it all into one. You end up having a lot of cash, honestly, because you can use it to buy a home or a boat, both of which are so expensive, I'm not sure how regular citizens even afforded one. By the end of my playthrough, I didn't even have enough gold to buy a home. And I fucking was doing all sorts of shit. And you're telling me all these regular citizens just got one? What? Also, no matter how racist people are to you, don't kill them. You will go to jail, and jail, more than in any other game, sucks. Not only because, it's jail, but it will also hurt your time and attributes. But also, you don't even get forgiven after that. The people of that town will still arrest you if you go back, apparently. At least that's what was happening to me. Speaking of which, Daggerfall really amped up its guards. Swimming is not only a skill, but if you weigh too much, you will sink and you cannot swim. Nudity is all over, which I don't mind, but it does mean I can't show you certain things or will have to censor things because of YouTube. Also, orcs are an intelligent race now. They aren't playable, but they do have a city you can go to. Speaking of races and creatures and such, Daggerfall has some interesting ones. Centaurs are here, and I don't think they're in any other game. Harpies also exist, and the first time I met one, I did not have a medal of high enough quality to hurt it, and it was terrifying. Rats look like they belong in Donkey Kong Country, which is not an insult. I think they look cool. Skeletons are more terrifying here than any other game, because they fucking scream at you. On top of that, it's not just werewolves, but also wereboars, which is a new one. It's quite a collection of interesting creatures, and that's not even close to all of them. Now, my favorite are probably the nymphs. And while yes, these are just naked women, I don't think you understand. The fact that they are naked women laughing in deep dark dungeons coming out of pitch blackness to kill you and laughing while they do it, it makes them terrifying. I understand why they are gone, probably because they were naked women, but I propose we bring them back and make them even more scary. They kind of feel like a cave siren to me, except they don't try to seduce you, they just laugh at what fun it is to see you run in fear as they try to kill you. Imagine exploring a cave and finding a laughing naked woman. Tell me that wouldn't scare you. That would scare me so bad, even if they didn't chase me. I wasn't expecting to find a naked person there just laughing at me. What in the world? Maps in Daggerfall kinda suck. They are no longer flat, so that is a bonus, but every dungeon is a 3D maze that doesn't have any sense around how it was built. You will need a guide if you don't want to spend hours backtracking and looking for an item that may have glitched out of the game, causing you to restart. And you spend way too much time in these labyrinth dungeons, some of which are purposefully confusing just so you will buy a guide. Let me cheat real quick so you can see some of this bullshit. This is a dungeon, and while sure this is one of the bigger ones, this isn't even all of it. For the dungeons alone, I cannot recommend this game. Well, it has a lot I like. The dungeons really kill it for me. A lot of these quests are random generated. The story quests aren't, but any quests with guilds or townsfolk and such sure are. And there's always a time limit, which is sometimes fair and other times makes you cut it really close. And by time limit, I mean days. They say you have this amount of time to finish this quest. This is also the game where a lot of the guilds got their starts, and this is also where a lot of the lore came in. The 8 Divines, Talos, the Daedra. This is the game that brought all that in. You can even summon Daedra, although I don't know how because they said I didn't have enough money, but also I could not carry enough money with me unless I had a wagon. They wouldn't let me bring in my wagon money or do payments, so I had no way to bring in the amount of money they needed to pay for it. But I had the money, don't know how you do that. One side quest I did was to get a demon out of a kid, and so I did. Then, I didn't have a way to kill the demon, so I trapped it in a closet and ran. So now they have a demon living in their closet, but it still counted the quest as complete because it wasn't in the kid. I found that really funny. I solved their problem, but I just gave them a different one. So the story is Uriel Septim, who looks different in every game, says, "Hey, King Lysandus is dead. Find out why his ghost is bothering everyone. Also, I mailed a letter and it didn't arrive and could be anywhere or with anyone. Find it and destroy it. Good luck." So then you basically just fuck around until someone will give you a letter with a quest. You do the quest, then you fuck around again, and then you'll get another letter with another quest. That's kind of how it works. You just keep fucking around until letters arrive. Some of the main mission quests can be skipped. Also, if you say no to a quest, it's gone forever. And that includes main mission quests, which makes you feel like you gotta look up every time you get a quest to see if it's main mission or not so you don't lock yourself out of the game. You mainly meet with rich folks, kings, queens, lords, Manomarco, the king of worms, etc., and you do shit for them. You find out that the Sandess was betrayed and killed by Lord Woodburn, so you kill Lord Woodburn and his spirit is free. Also, before you got sent out, a war between High Rock and Hammerfell was happening because they both wanted this island for themselves. The war is over, but it's still fresh in everybody's mind right now, and also changed the leadership of who the Queen of Daggerfall is. This is important because Uriel Septim's letter was addressed to the Queen of Daggerfall, but now with a different queen there, it went to the wrong person, and her, not knowing the importance of this letter, did not safeguard it well enough, where it was stolen and sold to the highest bidder, which was an orc. The orc didn't understand the meaning of the letter, but he did understand it was important, so he made copies and sold them to other people. We find the note, and it talks about the totem of Tiber Septim. See, Tiber Septim used the Numidium, which is a very large dwarven robot thing, to take over lands for the Empire. The Numidium is gone, and it doesn't work, but with the totem it might work again. But it has to be given to someone with royal blood. So after getting the totem, suddenly everyone wants it for power, and you can give it to any one of them. Any one of the royal families, that is. And also apparently Manomarco and the Underking, who are not of royal blood, but also want it, and I guess it will work for them. See, the Underking is this guy who is on the box art, and he wants it because his soul is inside this thing that looks like the Master Emerald, and that is used to power the Numidium. And Tiber Septim was the one who put his soul into it and killed him. Also, Tiber Septim and Talos are the same thing, by the way. He unified the Empire and rose up to godhood, and his name became Talos, even though it was Talos before to begin with, and later he became Tiber Septim, so it goes Talos, Tiber Septim, then Talos again. Hope that isn't too confusing. You see, the writer of Arena got complaints that the world and story were too basic fantasy, so he said, "Fuck you, I'll show you basic," and he made everything complex. And now, everything takes a lot more time to explain. You have to give the Totem of Tiber Septim to one of those royal families. You can't just give it to a woman in an attempt to romance her, sadly. Then a witch sends you into a space void world place where you run up against a giant sword and fire demons, and you bump into Sheogorath for some reason. And at last, you get to the Master Emerald thing, and then you get your ending. There are multiple endings depending on who gave you the totem to. I just gave it to Emperor Uriel Septim, because that made the most sense since I'm supposed to be like a loyal guy to him and he sent me on this quest. But it turns out this really doesn't matter at all, as every ending comes true simultaneously, but no one can remember which came true where you are. This is known as the Warp in the West, and exists so that every player's choice at the end would be canon. And I actually don't like this at all, but I guess it is what it is. And other games reference it vague enough that any of them could have happened. And that was Daggerfall. It took a long time for me to get around to playing it, and now that I have, I can say it was a lot better than Arena. The guilds existing was cool, and it gives you bonuses, but the quests can get old real quick, and the dungeons suck ass so hard. In many ways, it tries to be more of a fantasy simulator, with gold weight being heavy, and you can't be too heavy to swim, and things like that, you know? But in other ways, it really doesn't. It is definitely a game you could check out. I'm not going to say I recommend it, because the dungeons really ruin it for me, but we all have different tastes, and you could definitely check it out. It's not like Morrowind, Oblivion, Skyrim. It is quite different, and I probably will never pick it up again, but I enjoyed myself so much more than with Arena. Next will be, what is it, Battlespire? Yeah, I'm dreading that one, I really am.